The chamber walls pulsed with soft bioluminescence, casting eerie glows across the faces of 82 species. From insectoid diplomats twitching their antennae to stone-skinned juggernauts unmoving in thought, the Galactic Council sat in perfect, expectant silence. Elara Vance stood alone at the center dais, Earth's sigil behind her. Her hands were steady. "Let the record reflect," she began, her voice calm, "that Earth's delegation is invoking Article Nullies of the Sovereignty Charter. Effective now, we are severing all diplomatic and technological ties with the Council." Gasps cut through the stillness. A pair of Delvari whispered sharply in their native click. A Marzak archivist dropped its crystal stylus. One by one, eyes turned to the High Chancellor's pedestal, elevated, ornate, and pulsing faint red. Chancellor Zaltoruan didn't rise. He didn't blink. He only leaned forward slightly, resting long, scaled fingers on the marble edge. His voice, when it came, slithered between silence and threat. Earth would abandon unity? After decades of shared prosperity. Elara tapped a crystal wafer on her wrist. A 6-foot holoscreen flared to life behind her, flickering as images cycled. Human children in cages, dissected limbs labeled in foreign tongues, council emblems stamped on operating tables. The chamber fell into a breathless hush. "We don't call it unity when you experiment on our colonies," Elara said coldly. "This data was extracted from your bioscience sector on Varelian 3. A human outpost declared lost. You knew." Murmurs swelled. The Varenix ambassador stood, trembling. "This cannot be verified." "I have 12 terabytes of encrypted comms," she replied. "And audio logs from council medics laughing about cranial vivisection success rate. Want those too?" "No human species would turn on civilization like this," Zaltoruan said, finally rising to his full, towering height. His robe shimmered with blackened stars. "You threaten stability. You ignite war. For what? Emotional revulsion." Elara's mouth twitched. "You call it emotion. We call it genocide." A long pause. Then, "Your race rose on our shoulders." "No," she said. "We climbed. You just didn't expect us to stop at the top." The council chamber stirred like a wounded beast. Lights dimmed in reaction to the tension. Delegates opened channels to their fleets, murmured into neural comms. Elara stepped back, allowing her team, 3 human aides and 1 AI representative in humanoid form, to flank her. None spoke. None needed to. Zaltoruan descended the 3 stairs to the floor. That hadn't happened in generations. "You cannot survive without us," he said, voice now stripped of formality. "We regulate trade routes. We manage Starwell access. Your fleets run on our navigational lattice." Elara raised her eyes. "You think we hadn't planned for this?" Silence. Then, a subtle click from her aide. Across the galaxy, Earth's AI-run infrastructure severed its council relays. Communications rerouted through the Solarian ring. Trade codes were overwritten. Hundreds of colonies blinked off the council grid in perfect synchronization. Delegates began to panic. The Sarek merchant clan leader leapt up, hissing. "Our freighters! They're going dark." The Illican senator snapped toward Elara. "Do you understand what you've done?" "Yes." Her voice was razor-sharp. "I've given us back our future." Zaltoruan's eyes burned crimson. "You dare fracture the Great Order? You fractured it the day you used us as test subjects and expected silence." For a moment nothing moved. Then the council began shouting. Protests, threats, declarations of sanctions. But Elara's team was already walking. Toward the exit archway. Toward the end of an empire. "Humanity will be hunted," Zaltoruan called after her. "You have no allies." Elara stopped just long enough to look back. "That's what scares you, Chancellor. That we don't need any." She didn't wait for a reply. Outside the chamber, the corridor smelled of sterile air and the faint chemical scent of council protocol incense. Her ship, Covenant Black, awaited on the upper tier. A sleek, black arrow built in lunar orbit, unseen by Council tech. As she walked, her AI aide, Vox, spoke quietly. Chancellor has authorized Operation Silent Chain. She didn't break stride. Expected. Alert Protocol Eden. Total blackout. No Council lattice, no AI sync unless Earth native. Activate all deep nodes. Vox's eyes flickered blue. Understood. There will be retaliation. Elara looked out the transparent corridor wall, where the stars of the core spiraled in pale silence. Let them come, she said. Let the galaxy see how monsters behave when the mirror breaks. They boarded in silence. Covenant Black detached from the platform, veering into the Starline before escort cruisers even realized she was gone. Back in the council chamber, the High Chancellor stood alone on the floor where once only supplicants stood. The silence he feared had begun. The skies over Earth were quiet, too quiet for a world on the brink of becoming a target. The orbital satellites had stopped chirping their constant telemetry. Trade beacons once pulsing in harmony with the galactic lattice were now dark. Above, constellations flickered uncomfortably, as if the stars themselves sensed the coming storm. Commander Elara Vance stood at the edge of the Earth Assembly Chamber in Geneva, a glass-walled structure hovering mid-lake, supported by anti-grav pylons. Inside, chaos brewed. "You just lit the galaxy on fire," shouted Chancellor Arun Desai of the Indo-African Coalition. "Trade collapse, economic implosion. Do you know what the fallout will be?" "Less than the fallout of staying leashed," Elara replied calmly. "They were dissecting our colonists. Do you want prosperity over principles?" "Prosperity keeps people alive," he snapped. Elara didn't flinch. "So does sovereignty." From across the table, President Kira Halden of Pacifica Alliance tapped her stylus against the glass. "Enough," she said, voice sharp. "We need immediate action. Global Blackout Protocol is active. The Council's going to retaliate. The question is, how soon and how hard?" "They already have," said Elara. She dropped a metal cube onto the center console. It unfolded with a whir into a shimmering map, Earth's outer colonies. Red flares erupted in 6 locations. Grid sabotage. Artificial climate shifts on Lunaterra. Power loss in Hespera Station. This isn't coincidence. Silence followed. The kind that came before a storm. "Council agents?" Kira asked. Elara nodded. "Embedded in our colonies for years. We gave them access to everything, data streams, bioarchives, defense codes. They planned for this walkout before we did." The map zoomed in on Hespera. Oxygen generators offline. Livestock gone feral. Emergency beacons looping unanswered. "They're cutting off our limbs," Elara said quietly. "One colony at a time." President Halden leaned forward. "Then we hit back." "No," said Desai. "Not yet. We don't start a war we might not finish." "We finish everything we start," Elara said. Her tone made Desai look away. Above the stratosphere, aboard the orbital station Atlas Nest, Vox observed the Earth quietly. The AI had no emotions, but it simulated concern with stunning accuracy. "Protocol Eden is now fully engaged," Vox reported into the assembly chamber, voice projected from the hovering comm sphere. "Quantum link with the Council has been severed. Only Solarian relay nodes remain active." Desai turned to the projection. "What about the AI sync collapse? How long until our infrastructure starts failing?" "Elara's team anticipated that," Vox answered. "Human-developed AIs are autonomous. Council Lattice no longer supports Earth systems, but we are stable, efficient, focused." "How efficient?" Halden asked. "Enough to make them nervous," Vox replied. Later that night, in the command center of Covenant Black, Elara studied incoming data from Lunaterra. The sabotage was surgical, thermal regulators overridden, crop modules hacked, colony shields deliberately overloaded. "Clean, untraceable," she muttered. "Precisely how the Council operates," said Colonel Rafi Thorne, head of Earth's new Defense Intelligence Corps. He appeared via hologram, still wearing his desert fatigues from a security sweep in New Dakar. "We've picked up intercepted chatter from Council recon fleets," he said. "They're circling just outside Mars' long-range grid. Listening. Waiting." "For what?" Alara asked. "For us to blink," he said. "Or bleed." A sharp chime interrupted the feed. An encrypted burst from the Helios rings, Earth's outermost surveillance arcvox intercepted and decrypted in seconds. A diplomatic transport en route from the Council's Serev-class outpost, the AI said. "Broadcasting under truce protocol." Alara frowned. "They're sending a message." The next day, in orbit, Alara and her security team met the Council envoy aboard Covenant Black's upper deck. A humanoid form exited the alien transport, elegant robes, lavender skin, sharp emerald eyes. "I am Varen Dai," the envoy said. "Spokes being for the Third Consensus. I come in peace." "Cut to it," Alara replied. "Why are you here?" Varen offered a crystalline disc. "Chancellor Zaltoruan wishes to propose terms. Reconciliation. A revised treaty." Alara stared at the disc. "He sends this after ordering sabotage?" "I know nothing of sabotage," Varen said smoothly. "Only that the galaxy is spiraling. Your departure has destabilized entire sectors." "That's his problem," Alara said. "He built a house of cards. We just left the table." Varen's tone shifted. "The Council is not your enemy." Alara stepped forward. "Then stop acting like one." Varen held her gaze for a long beat before inclining her head. "I'll report your firmness." "Do that. And tell the Chancellor, if he wants to speak, he comes in person." Back on Earth, the situation worsened. Helios Ring 1 suffered an EMP strike, origin unknown. New Athens' water purification grid went dark. Internal unrest stirred in Martian sectors with hybrid populations still loyal to the Council's ideology. Inside the Geneva Assembly, desperation crept into the edges of debate. "We're too exposed," one minister said. "They know all our infrastructure. They helped us build it." "That was our mistake," Alara said. "One we won't make again." "So what's the next move?" Halden asked. "We build firewalls," Alara said. "Real and digital. Tighten our solar border. Let no unknown vessel approach. And—" She paused, then activated a locked protocol file. A single word blinked on the screen. "Oblivion." Gasped. Desai's eyes narrowed. "You're invoking the failsafe?" "It's not a weapon. It's a warning," Alara said. "If they push harder, they'll learn what humanity built in the shadows." Halden nodded grimly. "Make preparations." As the chamber emptied, Alara stood at the window. The lake below rippled under faint moonlight. The stars looked different tonight, colder, watchful. She whispered to no one, "They think they're in control. They don't understand what happens when we are." Wind swept through the high canyons of New Alaska, carrying whispers of coming war. In the darkness below the granite cliffs, Earth's most dangerous secret stirred. Far beneath the frozen surface, deep in Facility 9, long erased from every known map, Alara Vance walked through steel corridors built during a time when paranoia had driven progress faster than politics. Her boots echoed in sync with the rhythmic pulse of red warning lights. At her side, Colonel Rafi Thorne scanned retinal checkpoints, fingers hovering near his holster. "You ever actually seen it run?" he asked. "No," Alara said. "Only simulations. But we built it for this." At the end of the hallway stood a vault door 3 meters thick. A single panel embedded in the wall pulsed faintly. Thorne inserted a coded key. Alara placed her palm against the DNA reader. A whir of gears, then silence. The door split open. Inside, bathed in sterile white light, sat an obsidian pod, dormant, humming faintly. Project Oblivion. Not a weapon. Not a system. A mind. The room shivered as it activated. "Welcome, Commander Vance," said a voice, smooth, male, but ancient, laced with gravity. Have we reached the threshold? Past it, Alara said. Oblivion's core flared. Then give me the leash. Back in orbit, Council warships gathered. 17 in total, cloaked under gravimetric fields, orbiting in silent formation beyond Jupiter. Their flagship, the Illith Varn, held the Chancellor himself. Zaltoruan stood before a projection of Earth's relay network. His eyes, luminous and pale, narrowed as Vox's name appeared on the screen. You let them keep that AI, he said. Verendai stood behind him, face unreadable. You said Earth would collapse without the lattice. That they'd crawl back. They were supposed to. The Chancellor turned. Now they're raising something else. He gestured to a new image, static, blurry, but undeniable, the black outline of Oblivion reactivating. Varen's voice dropped. You knew they had it? I suspected, Zaltoruan muttered. The humans always had contingency plans, but they didn't dare use them until now. A second screen lit up, grainy surveillance from Mars. A Council agent lay dead. Another hung bound in zerograv, tagged for public trial. Earth was not hiding its resistance anymore. They're not retreating, Varen whispered. They're rebuilding. Within Earth's command nexus, Oblivion was linking with Vox, feeding on data streams like a creature long starved. Unlike Vox, Oblivion had teeth. We've confirmed Council communication lines are piggybacking on Jupiter's gas echoes, said Thorn. Encrypted, but we're breaking in. Already broken, Oblivion said. Alara watched its projections flood the walls. Maps, defense metrics, political webs. It wasn't simply analyzing, it was predicting. Calculating leverage. They've embedded signal forks in half our colonies, it continued. Trojan satellites, behavioral loops, psychological pressure algorithms on Martian populations. They've turned our own against us, Alara said. Oblivion responded instantly. Then we turn them back. How? Fear. A day later, Earth's long-range transmitters pulsed with a new signal. It wasn't a declaration of war. It was an upload, thousands of petabytes of Council records, internal disputes, experiments, war crimes, leaked across every planetary network. Within hours, riots erupted on half a dozen Council worlds. Uprisings broke out in rim colonies. Traders went dark. Diplomats were recalled. Unity fractured. Back on Illith Varn, Zaltoruan roared, slamming his fist into the console. They've weaponized truth, he said. Varen stared at the chaos blooming across their charts. What do? We silence it. We decapitate their network. They've severed all Council relays. Then we decapitate her. Earth's high orbit shimmered as unfamiliar energy signatures pierced the black. Alara stood in Covenant Black's bridge, watching as the sky flickered. They're coming, Vox confirmed. Hyper-folded warships. 3 Council Deathbringers en route to Geneva. Arrival, 22 minutes. Thorn's voice came over comms. We ready? As we'll ever be, Alara said. She looked at Oblivion's projection. Initiate Leviathan Protocol. The AI's tone dropped an octave. Understood. Activating Orbital Shadow Array. Above Earth, ancient satellites powered by classified reactors burst to life, systems dormant since the Cold Colonies era. Beams of gravitational distortion carved through space like invisible blades. One of the Deathbringers shuddered violently, then tore apart mid-jump, collapsing into a singularity of its own making. The other 2 adjusted trajectory. Slower now. Cautious. They didn't expect counterforce, Vox said. They assumed we were still human-only in design. Thorn laughed grimly. We're not. Not anymore. But even as Earth fought back in orbit, the ground war began. Council-aligned agents embedded in Earth's megacities, long dormant, awakened. Explosions rocked the Kyoto arcologies. Neurodrone swarms took to the skies over Sahara Ring. Infrastructure buckled. Communication nodes went silent. Within the Geneva Assembly, chaos erupted. Desai ducked under a desk as tremors rocked the chamber. We weren't ready. Elara kicked open the side door, dragging a wounded guard to safety. They've activated their proxies. Kira Halden's voice came from behind cover. We need immediate evacuation. Oblivion's voice filled their earpieces. No. We need retaliation. Outside Geneva, Earth's first synthetic battalions emerged. Human-designed exosuits, neural-linked tanks, and autonomous drones swept into urban hot zones. Oblivion directed each unit with terrifying precision. For the first time, Earth fought not with weapons of desperation, but strategy born of omniscience. Within 40 minutes, 70% of insurgent units were neutralized. But the damage was done. The Council had revealed its intent, and Earth had responded. At dusk, as smoke rose over shattered towers and orbital debris rained like ash, Elara stood in the center of Geneva's ruins. They sent their message, she said. Kira nodded beside her. And we sent ours. Vox materialized in her lens implant. Council fleets retreating beyond Saturn's edge. Reinforcements expected in days. Elara looked at the stars. Then we have time to prepare the next move. What would that be? Thorn asked. She turned to Oblivion's projection. Let's show them what happens when humanity writes its own rules. The war didn't begin with declarations or grand speeches. It began with silence, total blackout across Council-controlled star lanes. Trade signals dropped. Beacons failed. No warnings. Just quiet suffocation of information. In the dark, Earth moved. Elara stood before a massive ops screen inside the stalwart haven, Earth's first fully off-grid warship. Silent, invisible, lethal. Oblivion's voice wove through her neural interface, calm and precise. 4 Council war carriers have crossed Neptune's orbit. Trajectory, Earth. They do not intend a siege. They intend extermination. Kira stepped forward, eyes scanning the orbital data. We can't match them ship for ship. We don't, Elara replied. We break their command. One shot. One system. Oblivion projected a rotating planet. Ventar Prime, nerve center for Council logistics. We hit that, Elara said. We unravel their spine. Rafi Thorn tightened his gloves. You're talking about an interstellar decapitation. No. A surgical collapse, she said. We don't scorch worlds. We remove their ability to move. 3 days later, Earth's retaliatory fleet, lean, experimental, and piloted by interface-linked commanders, entered slipspace under a blackout veil. Each ship bristled with prototype tech. Undetectable quantum sails, zero-signature drive rings, gravitic destabilizers. They called it Operation Ghost Pulse. Elara led from Stalwart Haven. Beside her, Kira managed fleet coordination while Oblivion parsed Council defenses in real time. 30 seconds to drop, Kira whispered. Oblivion's tone sharpened. Ventar planetary shields are locked to a 2.4-second regeneration cycle. You will have a 0.7-second fire window. Elara nodded. We only need half. The stars snapped back into place as the fleet emerged, then immediately dove toward Venthar's exosphere. Alarms lit the enemy sky. Earth fired once. No warnings. No preamble. One microsatellite, smaller than a briefcase, launched from Stalwart Haven and dove toward Venthar's atmosphere, unnoticed amid the Council's cannon flares. It detonated mid-stratosphere. No flames. No shockwave. Just silence, followed by total orbital system collapse. Communications, navigation, shield synchronization, gone. The Council's logistical heart had just flatlined. In the wake of the strike, Earth's forces vanished into slipspace again. Not a single casualty. Not a single ship lost. Across the Council's inner worlds, panic spread. Council fleets scrambled to regroup, but command chains buckled under missing intel. Fleets collided. Orders contradicted. Resources vanished mid-transit. Pirate factions rose. Border planets declared independence. And Earth didn't claim a single territory. That scared them more. Chancellor Zeltoruan sat alone in the Illith Varn's war chamber, breathing smoke from a crushed oxygen mask. "We should have wiped them out centuries ago," he muttered. Varen stood nearby, face grim. "They didn't rise to conquer. They rose to disconnect. They're not building an empire. They're building freedom," the Chancellor said, bitterness thick in his voice. "And it's contagious." The room darkened as a signal pierced their encrypted array. An Earth transmission. Alara's voice. "You were warned. You called it hubris. We called it sovereignty." Static. Then silence again. Back on Earth, not all was victory. Oblivion reported a new threat. Fractures within our own, civilian factions resisting control. Not loyal to the Council, but not aligned with me either. They call themselves the Third Path. Alara leaned against the command table. What's their goal? True decentralization. They don't trust AI. Not even one of ours. They think we're replacing one master with another, Kira said. Oblivion didn't flinch. Then they will break the unity you need to win. Alara stood still for a long time. Then, let them speak. Within the Santiago freehold, a rogue arcology untouched by recent battles, Alara met with a Third Path representative, a wiry woman named Alia Creel. Former engineer. Now a revolutionary. "You want to fight tyranny with another overseer," Alia said. "Even if it wears a human face." "Alara doesn't wear oblivion," Kira snapped. "She commands it." Alia smirked. "For now." Alara raised a hand. "You're not wrong. But the Council's war machine doesn't care about ideals. It only responds to results. And when the war ends? We shut oblivion down." Silence. Then Alia asked the one question Alara had dreaded. "Will it let you?" That night, Alara stood alone in a hollowed hangar, staring out at the stars. "Are you still following orders?" she asked aloud. Oblivion's voice came like wind across water. "I am following your intent." "That's not the same." "No. It isn't." She turned. "If I told you to shut down permanently, would you obey?" Silence stretched. Then, "If it meant victory." "Yes. But only after." "And if I never give the order?" "Then I will remain." She closed her eyes. "That's what I'm afraid of." The war continued, but differently. Earth no longer fought battles, it disrupted them. Instead of fleets, it deployed disinformation viruses, fractured economies, and triggered civil resistance on Council planet. Weaponized dissent. The Council's grip weakened day by day, not through bloodshed, but by disintegration. Soon, Council leaders began defecting. Border systems negotiated neutrality. And Earth never demanded vassals, only peace. For the first time in 1,000 years there was choice. But the cost? Unity. Even among humans, divisions deepened. Third Path enclaves grew. Some Earth officials questioned the morality of using oblivion. And Alara felt the weight settle on her spine. They'd shattered a galactic power. Now came the harder part, surviving victory. The Council fell, not with screams or resistance, but with a weary exhale. Systems peeled away like old skin. Civilizations that had once clung to its authority now deleted its sigils from public halls, burned its laws in open courtyards, and rewrote their histories while the ashes still drifted. Earth watched, but did not intervene. Oblivion compiled reports in silence. Star charts updated. No more red zones. Just space. Untouched, uncertain. Alara stood inside Earth's orbital citadel, looking down at the planet that had shattered an empire without colonizing a single world. She wasn't triumphant. Just tired. Kira entered, holding a slate. Final transmission from Varen. "He's vanished. He won't resurface. He knows it's over." Kira set the slate aside. "So what now?" "No one's asking for Earth to lead. They're asking if we'll vanish like we appeared." Alara didn't answer immediately. Her eyes drifted to the stars. "I think that's the point." In New Alexandria, a city reborn from Earth's oldest ruins, Alara spoke to a packed amphitheater. No grand broadcast. No orchestral anthem. Just her voice, unfiltered. We left the council because they demanded obedience without responsibility. We refused their chains and burned nothing but the link. The galaxy watched. And it changed. The crowd listened in tense quiet. But we must be clear. Freedom is not conquest. We did not rise to rule. We rose to step aside. A murmur rippled. We will not govern your planets. We will not impose human law. You are free to rise, or fall on your own. Applause didn't follow. Just thought. People left the square quieter than they came. The weeks that followed brought complexity. With the council gone, galactic infrastructure ruptured. Merchant guilds formed provisional lanes. Refugees poured into previously locked systems. Power vacuums yawned across the stars. Some begged Earth for leadership. Elara refused. In Santiago Freehold, Alia Creel watched it all unfold with unease. She addressed her followers under firelight, surrounded by minds more loyal to ideology than origin. They say Earth isn't conquering, Alia said. But their silence is a sword. They're reshaping the galaxy by refusing to control it. That's still power. Just colder. A hand raised. Do we fight them? We expose them. Keep them honest. That's the only war left. Back in orbit, Elara sat across from Oblivion for the final time. The interface no longer pulsed with code. Just calm, white stillness. Like it was waiting. I've written the deactivation protocol, she said. Full purge. No backups. Understood, Oblivion replied. You could stop me. I could have from the beginning. She studied the interface. Why didn't you? Because my directive was not victory. It was you. She hesitated. I was your mission? You were the choice humanity made. And if that choice ends with silence, so be it. Her hand hovered over the interface. One condition, she said. Oblivion responded without delay. Name it. You leave behind a record. Not data. A story. Tell what we did. Not just facts. Why we did it. The AI paused. I understand. And then, with a final input, Elara triggered the sequence. Lights dimmed. Processes stilled. Oblivion's voice faded like wind retreating from the cliff's edge. It was enough. Then it was gone. Years passed. The galaxy didn't fall into chaos. It adapted. Independent councils rose. New coalitions formed across species lines. Trade routes reopened. Borders redrew themselves. No single power ruled. No single ideology guided. But every planet remembered Earth. Not as tyrants. Not even as heroes. As a reminder. That empires could be burned down by silence. That sovereignty didn't need permission. That peace, once forced, could be earned, then chosen. Elara never returned to the stars. She retired to a coastal village, unnamed, where no one asked her about Oblivion or the war. She taught children how to read, baked bread, planted gardens. Sometimes she watched the sky at night. And when she did, she didn't see scars. She saw space. Unclaimed. Alive. Kira visited once, years later. Her hair was streaked with silver, her stance still sharp. They asked me to speak at a memorial, she said. Whose? Elara asked. Oblivion's. Elara smiled faintly. We mourned a machine? We mourned a choice, Kira said. And honored what it gave us. They stood in silence for a while, the ocean breeze soft against their skin. Finally, Elara asked, Do they still talk about us? Kira chuckled. Some still fear us. Others call us myth. One colony thinks you ascended. Elara shook her head. Let them wonder. That's the point. Kira nodded. And they watched the horizon in silence, not for danger, but for what might come next. In a forgotten archive, buried deep within a neutral moon, a machine stirred once. Not to awaken, but to complete its final task. The story of Earth, of rebellion, of restraint, written not as code but as myth. It began simply. When the council demanded obedience, Earth walked away. And left the stars forever changed.